Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're about 2 minutes from the start of the presentation. I am Dr. Pam. We will just kind of wait a few more minutes until everyone else has a chance to sign in. I did want to mention that I uploaded the slides. So if you can see a menu item that looks like a piece of paper with a paper clip on it, if you click on that menu item, you should be able to open that up and find the slides. So you do have a couple minutes in case you wanted to print those off. And again, we'll just wait a minute or two more, and then we'll get started. All right, it is 6 o'clock. So let me get my slideshow up here and then get started. So this is a presentation that's part of my series called Dr. Pam's Pearls. Thank you for joining me. Tonight, I thought it would be a helpful topic to talk about finding peace in a busy world, because we're all feeling the stress and it's creating some anxiety about this busy world that we're in. And for any of those who have not yet met me, my name is Dr. Pam Grover. I started out my undergrad, actually, I was intending to become an athletic trainer. So I have a bachelor's in sports medicine. I went directly from undergrad to medical school because my professors talked me into, going pre-med, and went to medical school at SUNY Buffalo. I just loved pretty much every specialty. I really like the relationship with patients and the whole family. So I went into family medicine. I did go to Clearwater, Florida. There was a program for family medicine residency out of University of South Florida. I stayed down there practicing in a variety of different settings. I was a teaching physician at one point. I was a medical director at an underserved clinic. I then went into more of a private practice, but I was very active in our larger primary care group. We had about 100 physicians. I was one of the physicians on the physicians advisory board. I was part of the safety committee and the compliance committee. And then when I saw my patients in primary care, really believed in being more natural with treatments, not prescribing or over prescribing medications, which led me to finding the fellowship in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, which I completed in 2013. And that is when I brought my family back upstate New York. I'm from Fredonia. My husband's from Rochester. And I started practicing anti-aging medicine here in Rochester in 2013. So just a reminder, this series of Dr. Pam's Pearls, it's a presentation meant for information purposes only. It is not meant to be a substitute for medical advice, and please consult your doctor before making any changes in treatment. Why is anxiety so common? Well, it's part of our modern life, and it's keeping our immune system constantly turned on. It's like we have these constant notifications, our text messages, our emails, our social media. To sell news, they often like to blow, stories up and make them more sensationalized. We also have the financial stressors of our lives, caring for our children or our aging parents. Um, that might lead to some poor sleep, blood sugar swings. We have a society that it's hard to go into the grocery store and get the healthy, real, whole food. Um, and just, a lot of our social gatherings are based around foods that are processed. So that gets us into this blood sugar swing, creates a lot of inflammation, digestive imbalances, and hormone imbalances. So those of you who've never heard of adrenal fatigue, this is a picture of your cortisol level. Cortisol is your stress hormone. So the more we worry or think about things that are stressful, the higher our cortisol can be. So you have this wired stage where your cortisol runs high all the time and you feel jittery and anxious. There's the second stage, which is wired and tired. And then there is the third stage, which is basically when you're just burned out, exhausted all the time. Some of the symptoms of adrenal fatigue are the anxiety. It could just be muscle tension, muscle pain, poor sleep, brain fog, irritability, and the same things that we mentioned before, digestive issues, hormone dysregulation, and even those infamous cold hands and feet, which can be a sign of low thyroid, but often is a sign of low nitric oxide. And that is a biochemical imbalance that is often like the demand of nitric oxide can go up because we're always stressed and then we're not eating enough of the foods that help us make nitric oxide. We are not moving our body, just exercise itself helps us make more nitric oxide. So as the saying says at the bottom of this slide, you cannot heal in survival mode. The blood does not get to the places you need it to go to heal you. Some of you may have heard of mast cells and histamines. There is growing evidence supporting the connection between mast cell activation and inflammation of your brain, which people call neuroinflammation, and also this anxious, stressed out state that we all feel in. So these are some articles that have been written by some of the experts connecting these imbalances with your mast cells. What are the mast cells? Well, they're your body's immune alarm system. They're meant for something good. They're located all throughout your body. You have them in your skin, your gut, your lungs, your brain, your blood vessels. Your whole nervous system has mast cells. And their job is to protect us. It's to protect us against infections, also against allergens, although having allergies is somewhat of an over response to the environment. And it works by releasing, that mast cell itself is releasing a chemical messenger, and that chemical messenger is histamine. Unfortunately, histamine can create a lot of symptoms when it's overproduced. So initially getting a little congestion in your nose is meant to trap the bacteria or the virus that's trying to come in through your nasal passages. But when it's excessive, that is when it becomes a problem. But too much histamines in your brain can cause anxiety or panic. Too many histamines in your heart causes racing heart. On your skin, it causes itching and hives, headaches, brain fog, digestive upset. It could be causing heartburn. It could be causing constipation or diarrhea, and it definitely can cause insomnia. You can have mast cell issues without having classic allergies. So how does the vagus nerve connect into all of this? Well, the vagus nerve is something that helps to calm our body. And it's the gut-brain connection. The vagus nerve helps to calm the gut so that it can allow for blood flow to go there, digest your food, move things along. So when you are in fight or flight, we are not, activating our vagus nerve. Our vagus nerve is turned off when we're in fight or flight. And then we can't connect to your brain. And our heart tends to race because we can't calm it down. The vagus nerve slows the heart rate. It allows us to take deeper breaths. And also it allows our immune system to be able to have a more calm approach to not over attacking things, but still getting rid of the bad stuff. So when the vagus nerve is activated, it helps do the things that I just mentioned. One of the things maybe that I didn't mention is that when we have our vagus nerve activated, we will have less inflammation, we will have better circulation, our mood will be better, we're going to be less irritable, we are going to feel happier, and we'll have better sleep. Just be more resilient to stress. So some of you may have heard like you can gargle with salt water or just gargle water in general. So that'll activate our vagus nerve, and also singing and humming. So research shows that time in nature helps to activate our vagus nerve. They've done studies and they've shown that people's cortisol goes down and their blood pressure goes down just sitting outside, going for a walk where there's trees and grass and flowers. So it'll improve your mood, improve your attention, and reduce your anxiety. So nature is one of the ways to activate your vagus nerve. What are some ideas to, get out into nature? You can take a 20-minute walk outside. You can walk barefoot on the grass, if it's safe. Just making sure there's not ticks out there that crawl up your leg, but you can walk out in the grass and check for ticks and get rid of them before you go in the house. So just like when you're out in nature, look around, notice the birds, you can see them, you can hear them, listen for the wind in the trees, or if there's any creek nearby, listening for some water. And if you can't go outdoors, we do have a lot of things that are helping with this biofrequency medicine now, like being outside in the grass near the trees. This helps us be around electrical frequencies. Our cells all have an electrical charge on them. And when they get sick, let's say they get infected by an infection, or maybe they get damaged by an autoimmune disease that caused inflammation in certain types of cells, like MS is inflammation of your sheath on your spine or on your brain. And so if we can't go out to nature to kind of reset these low voltages on these sick cells, like when you have cancer, your voltage might be 20 on the cancer cell when it's supposed to be 70, 90. So if you can't go outside and sit in the grass or take a walk, there are chambers and mats and frequency devices. Even tuning forks can help the frequencies in that. I do in my office have something called an amortal chamber, which has copper coils in the acrylic bed, and you do a 25-minute session or 15 or 50-minute sessions, and it helps to reset the voltages of your cells. All right. Another way to activate your vagus nerve and to help your mast cells, to help with stress, is mindfulness. So one of the ways you can be more mindful is to stop, reading your emails, stop looking at social media or watching the news, and simply breathe. So this is a link to a study that shows that box breathing helps calm your cortisol. So the way you do box breathing is you inhale a count of 4. It's always good to try to inhale through your nose. You're actually getting the oxygen to your brain better that way. The more we breathe out of our nose, the better our blood pressure is, the better our heart rate is. So you inhale through your nose, a count of 4. You exhale, a count of 6. And then you keep doing that. Actually, box breathing is, you can do it all kinds of ways, but you can make a square box 4 sides. So you can inhale a count of 4, hold a count of 4, exhale a count of 4, hold a count of 4. There's lots of ways that you can do this. So about 5 minutes is a good amount of time. This study actually was when they monitored patients for 5 minutes and tested their cortisol before and after, they found that the cortisol went down. There is some benefit to a longer exhale than you're inhaling. So that's really getting your diaphragm to engage, and that helps to activate your vagus nerve. You also could have a tea ritual. Some of you like drinking coffee. Some of you are switching over to mushroom drinks. But just having something almost like that Pavlovian dog response. They taught the dogs, they would give them the food and ring a bell. And so after a while, they kept doing that over and over. They wouldn't even give the food because the dog's mouth would start watering when they saw the food, but they would just start ringing the bell and the mouth would start watering. Well, you can teach yourself with a cup of tea or just a ritual of even warm water with lemon or warm water with ginger that you just calm down with just sitting quietly with your tea or coffee. Sip it slowly. Just pay attention to what's around you. How does it smell? What does it sound like? Maybe think of something pleasant that occurred that day or that has occurred recently. Just feel the cup. What does the cup feel like? What does the um, liquid in the cup smell like? So just be in the moment. Other things, just to create the peace is, add the breathing in, just be in the moment with these types of things that you're doing to create peace. Also, touch helps to stimulate the calming nerve pathways, and it also can reduce your muscle tension. So this is a study that talked about that. And things that you can do is to just massage your temples. You can use different oils. It can just be coconut oil or sesame oil. You can engage your vagus nerve by just rubbing the top of your ear. So you if you've ever done Qigong, they often teach you how to give a self massage at the end of class. And so you're just rubbing your ears a little bit. Find the spot on your ears. Go ahead and try it right now. That make you feel more, just relaxed, more in the moment. You can give yourself a little neck rub. Sometimes your hands are cold, so rubbing your hands together can activate your vagus nerve. Sometimes it's better to just take your palms and kind of rub them back and forth. You can pat yourself. This is a kind of massage. You have lung points up here. You can take your knuckles and just kind of tap on your lungs. Stimulate some of the blood to get to your lungs. Tap over here. These are also kidney points. You can do both sides at the same time. Underneath your sternum, you have a thymus, and this really helps with your immune system. So when you're sick, just tap over your thymus. Or you're going to go to a social engagement where you're going to be around a lot of people, just go ahead and just gently tap over your thymus. Also, just like the words you tell yourself, your cells listen to you. They've done a lot of studies on this where even with a house plant, and they say nice, kind things to the house plant every day, it flourishes. And when you say mean things to the plant, it kind of whittles away. So the same for your own cells. If you tell your cells you're healthy, if you tell your cells that you're going to have a great day, you're more likely to have that happen. Essential oils can help to calm you, especially like at night, for example. You can get some lavender essential oil. You have a lot of pores on the bottom of your feet, so you can just kind of rub a little bit of that essential oil on your feet. Some people like to use frankincense. Frankincense essential oil is very anti-inflammatory. And like rosemary essential oil is really good for a lot of different things, cancer fighting and clearing infections. I mentioned earlier how humming can activate your vagus nerve. So it also can increase your nitric oxide, which keeps your hands and feet warmer. So just try humming one of your favorite tunes, 2 or 3 minutes when you're in the car, in between activities. So singing also helps. So that helps with your breathing. You use your diaphragm a lot when we sing, brings on positive emotions. Some people like to sing together, like music brings a lot of people together. So go out, on a weekend and go listen to music. All those things help to stimulate your vagus nerve. There's also shaking. So just, how like you see an animal, they might be a little stressed and they kind of get up and they shake their whole body. And that actually helps to stimulate their vagus nerve and calm them down. So humans work that way too. Just, you can shake your hands, just kind of try to relax your shoulders, get your whole arm to relax. And then you can do the same with your whole body, just kind of shake it up and down. Maybe try it for like 30 seconds, a minute. You can bring your hands back and forth this way. You can bring your hands back and forth to the side. I always get a nice shoulder relaxation by shaking them behind me. It might crack a little bit, loosen it up. And then when you're done with the minute of shaking, you kind of stop and you feel like, what do my fingertips feel like? I feel a little buzzing sometimes when I do that. It's just kind of like waking it up. So just a summary, the basic habits that help to control stress and anxiety. What else can you do? I mentioned earlier blood sugar stability. So just trying to eat the real food. And some of you know that one of the resources out there is a book called Glucose Revolution. If you're on social media, then it's Jessie Anshaspe. She's known as the glucose goddess. She teaches you how it's best to eat your fiber first, which is your vegetables, and then you eat your protein, and you always try to wait and have your starch last, because that will stabilize your blood sugar. So all these things that help to stabilize your blood sugar will reduce your stress response. Hydration. If we're dehydrated, if we haven't gotten enough electrolytes, that's going to also cause problems. Eating magnesium-rich foods. Magnesium is one of those minerals that really helps to calm the body. And magnesium-rich foods are things like nuts and seeds, those green leafy vegetables that are really high in magnesium. That's great. Beans and lentils are a very good source of magnesium. Omega-3 fats. So our nervous system, our nerves have a coating on them that's basically made of fat. So you need the omegas for healthy nervous system. So those are things like chia seeds and flaxseed and fish. You can be eating fish oil or taking fish oil supplements. We do offer a test in the office called Omega Quant, and it's looking at your red blood cells. So not just like an omega check is decent, but you're just seeing what's in the bloodstream. But the Omega Quant is looking at what's inside your red blood cell. And is there, how much of the omega-3 is there compared to omega-6? It's a finger prick test. So if you want to see if you're taking enough omega-3 or you're eating enough omega-3 foods, then you can call in and ask for the Omega Quant test. It's about $54 for the basic one, and then you can get one where it's like tells you about your trans fats and your breakdown of the different omegas to see which food group maybe is more specifically that you're deficient in, and that one's $89. So regular movement helps with stress and anxiety, getting enough sleep. That's a really big one. We have this lymphatic system. It's different. It's basically the lymphatic system for our brain, and we detox our brain when we're sleeping. So if you're constantly shorting yourself on the hours of sleep at night, 7 hours, 8 hours is somewhat what most people need. But if you're always getting less than that, you're going to detox your brain less. Circadian rhythm is very important for your health of every cell. And that means that your eyes see the sun in the morning, not the blue screen first, not your phone first. Your eyes see the light outside first. And also when the sun's setting. So that kind of orangey, the orangey red in the morning when the sun's first rising, and the orangey red sky at night, that is really what helps your retina. I always try to like raise my glasses when I'm walking so that my retina is getting the natural light without the glasses in the way. And all these healthy microbiome also plays a big role in stress and anxiety. We have like these two neurotransmitters. One is called GABA. That's like our natural Xanax that calms us down. And one is called glutamate. So glutamate is more of our wake us up and stimulate us. So it's not just cortisol. It's not just adrenaline. Those two things are different. But there's also glutamate. And glutamate is another neurotransmitter that can make us too anxious if it's too much. And two of the foods that are very, very high in glutamate that would increase your anxiety, one most people know, which is MSG, monosodium glutamate. And there's still foods out there. Most salad dressings in the regular salad dressing aisle still has MSG in it. Look for monosodium glutamate because they start to think that people aren't smart enough to know that monosodium glutamate is the same as MSG. Please try to avoid that. It's going to exacerbate migraines. Anybody with a neurodegenerative disease will get worse if they're exposed to MSG, or aspartame is the other one. So aspartame's in the diet sodas especially. There's a lot of zero sugar products that still have aspartame in it. So try to avoid them. You have to read the ingredients to know. But there's another zero sugar that's not helpful at all, which is harmful, and that is sucralose. And there's still a lot of products with that in there too. Sucralose, it used to be called Splenda, and that's very high in chlorine. And chlorine is not good for multiple organs, but especially our bladder. You could have a higher risk of bladder cancer when you have sucralose on a regular basis, or just UTIs. I once had a patient who I was seeing this patient in place of my partner who was on maternity leave, and they came in for blood in the urine. And this patient had a history of bladder cancer. And luckily, I had already learned about sucralose as the possible trigger. And so I started asking them. I always would ask patients who came in with a new problem, like, what have you changed? What is different? So instead of just adding a pill to try to fix it like a Band-Aid, I would always be like, let's take away the thing that caused it. And I highly recommend that when anything happens to you, just start thinking, what is different? Having this new problem, what is different? And so this patient kind of knew right away. They were like, well, it's healthy for me. Well, okay, what healthy thing did you start doing? They were like, my friend told me that drinking a glass of water with lemon was a great healthy thing to do. And I'd had cancer and I thought it was going to help me. But it's very tart. So I decided to put this Splenda in there to make it taste better. And it was only about a week. And it just frankly just made this patient start bleeding, start having blood in the urine. As soon as he stopped doing that, the blood stopped happening. But that was pretty extreme case. I had another patient that just kept getting UTI after UTI. And it was before I knew about it. And she was a pastor, and someone in her congregation said, Pastor, are you drinking anything with Splenda? Because that can cause UTIs. And lo and behold, that was it. She stopped doing it and her UTI stopped. Okay, so I'm going to start talking about a few of the supplement type things that might help with stress and anxiety. So if your stress is being triggered by mast cells and high histamines, there's actually this very cheap flush or calibration you can do. And it's using vitamin C powder. So when we have a lot of oxidative stress in our body, which is like free radicals from infections or injuries, or it can be from toxins, lots of different things, mold, it can turn on our mast cells and our histamines. And so we have all of this oxidative stress in our body that's creating all these symptoms. And one of the things that can neutralize that oxidative stress is vitamin C. So what we want to do is we want to do this day to figure out how much vitamin C does it take to neutralize all the free radicals in our body. And once we have saturated all those free radicals, the extra vitamin C is then just going to cause diarrhea because it's water soluble, and your body will just start pooping it out. So what you do is you take a vitamin C powder that's buffered. So vitamin C is very acidic and you don't want to make your stomach really acid that day. So you pick a day in the morning that you have your vitamin C powder that's buffered. One example is written there called Carlson's Mild Sea Crystals, and that's about 1,600 milligrams for a half a teaspoon. There's another one from a company called Perk, and that company was started by the doctor who discovered this calibration protocol. His name is Russell Jaffe. And so his is called Perk Potency. And by the end of this, you're going to want to feel like you've done a colonoscopy flush, that you've completely evacuated your bowels. But you're going to mix a half a teaspoon of this vitamin C powder and 4 ounces of water. And you're going to drink that. And every 15 minutes, you're going to repeat that. They say that like the first hour, it's good to have an empty stomach just to get the vitamin C into your system first before you eat. But the rest of the day, you can eat and drink like you normally do. So every 15 minutes, you're taking this drink with a half a teaspoon of vitamin C powder, and you're going to keep a tally. How many doses does it take before you have fully evacuated your bowels? And most people, I will say, it takes 18, 20 doses. So you're going to be doing this for several hours. If you want to speed up the process, after the first hour, you can start doubling the dose. So in the 4 ounces of water, you can put 1 full teaspoon, which is 2 doses. And so just keep counting how many doses you're taking. And if you get to 30, I would just tell you to stop. At that point, you've proven a point, because the days following that, the weeks following that, you're actually going to take less of that dose, but more than you would normally probably guess you should take. So whatever your max dose was, let's say, for example, I have an example off to the right here, that if you got to 18 doses, you're going to take half of your max that it took. I'm sorry, if you got to 36 doses, let's say. My example was 18 doses. 18 doses, half of that is 9. And then you're going to divide that up throughout the day. So you're going to do 3 doses of this vitamin C in the morning, 3 doses in the middle of the day, 3 doses at night. And you keep doing that day after day until whatever symptom that you are having, whether it's itching, hives, I've done it a lot for that, could be asthma, could be heart racing, you're going to do this until it gets better. And it might take 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And then also your body might start getting too loose of stools with that much vitamin C, so you have to start cutting back on it. So your body usually tells you when you need to cut back on the vitamin C. And usually whatever symptoms that were being caused by too much histamines, the histamines will finally be flushed out of your system and you'll have less of them. So just, again, always consult your physician, and be careful with checking with other things before you start it. But usually this is well tolerated, and vitamin C doesn't interfere with many things. There is some concern that vitamin C is an oxalate, and that possibly high doses of vitamin C could increase the risk of kidney stones. However, there is some research that shows that vitamin C can also break up kidney stones if it contains the citric acid, because citric acid does break up kidney stones. So again, just always consult your physician before you do things like this. Other histamine supports that could help also with some of those symptoms related to stress and anxiety. You have this product to the left, which is HistorySet. It contains the different ingredients: quercetin, NAC. Bromelain is from pineapple. That helps to break up the inflammatory proteins. And then you have antioxidants that are like luteolin, rutin, and a mineral called molybdenum. Molybdenum helps to clear out sulfites. So those of you that have issues with sulfite sensitivity and you have histamine issues, this is a wonderful supplement. Okay. We have foods that increase histamine. So those are things that are fermented, especially wine and beer. But unfortunately, green tea is high in histamines as well. Black tea is, sauerkraut, vinegar. So if you have some of these symptoms, just again, maybe think about this. Maybe some of these foods are kind of aggravating my histamines. And you can take this enzyme called DAO enzyme. Some people genetically don't produce that as well. And so when you eat food, you take a DAO enzyme, it helps you break down the histamines so they don't build up in your bloodstream. And then different good bacteria in your gut can actually increase histamines or decrease histamines. The red box on the far right bottom shows you the ones that you have to be cautious of if you have symptoms of high histamines. The lacto-reuteri is used a lot in women's probiotics because it's really good for the urogenital tracts. but it might activate histamine issues. The lactocasei also can be a problem, lactobulgaricus, and the strep thermophilus. So be careful with those. But two of the probiotics that I know can specifically help people or be safer for people with allergies and histamine issues are probiobifido. So all the bifidobacteriums, they're usually safer for you, and the probiohistamine X. And that has a combination of some bifidos and some of the safer lactose. There's also this company, they've been out in existence for several years, but I was just using their products more this year. They come in these little troches. Troches mean they can melt in your mouth between your cheek and gum. And this one is more of a pre-GABA product. So some of you, I mentioned GABA earlier. This is your calming neurotransmitter. And the problem with taking a GABA supplement is that it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier if you have a healthy gut. So if you've ever taken a GABA supplement and it worked, it usually means that you had a leaky gut and you also have a leaky blood-brain barrier, and that's how it got to your brain. Well, this particular supplement has a pre-GABA. So it's something that like naturally can cross the blood-brain barrier, even with a healthy blood-brain barrier. It also contains L-theanine, a little bit of CBD, no THC, and then some other calming ingredients. So these are troches they're scored into 4s, and you can take a quarter of one, you could take a half of one. You just let it melt between your cheek and gum, and usually within 20 minutes or so, it helps you calm down. And you can take up to a full troche as well. So we do try to carry them in our office and have them in stock, or if you call our office, we can order them to be shipped to your house. So it is something that can be used during the day or in the evening. Other common supplements used for anxiety and stress are adaptogens. So these are herbs that actually adapt to your state of adrenal health. So they have like minerals and nutrients in there that just kind of have this intelligence about them that when you need calming, it helps to calm you. If you need boosting of energy, it helps to boost your energy. So it just adapts to the situation. So the one in the far right is the Hinokiol, Hono Pure. That is from magnolia bark, and that really helps to keep you in more of a rest and digest state. The doctor who developed that one, he has some research showing that there's better cancer outcomes when people take that, because let's say you have a brain cancer. You need the medicine to be able to cross your blood-brain barrier to get to where the tumor is. But if you're always in fight or flight, that's not going to happen. But that's true with most diseases. Like if you're trying to take a medicine to help a specific organ, if you're always in fight or flight, then your blood is restricted to a lot of your organs. It's getting there, but it's not as good as it should be. And so if you can get yourself to be calmer, all the things you're trying to do for yourself is going to work better. So the Calm product, which is up in the right corner, that's kind of an interesting one because it does have rhodiola, which is one of the adaptogens also, this herb, but it contains amino acids and it contains a mineral called manganese. It also contains a healthy fat called phosphatidylcholine, and all those things just play different roles in helping to keep your body calm. I've tried all of these actually, so I find that they all can be helpful. Don't necessarily have a favorite out of all of these. The Gaia company makes one called Adrenal Health, and that has several different adaptogens in it. So rhodiola, I've mentioned before, that's really good for people with like busy, stressful lives. Holy basil is just a great bread and butter. There's tea with holy basil. You can go to Lori's Natural Foods and they have the loose leaf holy basil to make your own tea. But you can go many of the stores that carry the tea bags. It's also known as tulsi, So you could drink Tulsi tea. You don't have to take pills. And then there is ashwagandha. And ashwagandha's claim to fame is that it also helps the thyroid. And so a lot of people that have stressful lives and have Hashimoto's, other kind of thyroid problems, will try ashwagandha. The only thing I will say about ashwagandha, though, is it is a root herb, and root herbs can be a problem for people with autoimmune. So it's ironic, though. I've had Hashimoto's isn't autoimmune. I've had some people with Hashimoto's do well with ashwagandha, but other people that don't do well with ashwagandha. So it's not always black and white. Quicksilver Scientific has some really great products. Chris Shade has a lot of this products that are nanoparticles, which they absorb better. He has these squirt bottles that you can put it under your tongue so that you don't have to be taking as many pills every day. So minerals actually can really calm us down too. So for low, I mean, magnesium is one of those minerals, but there are several others. So there's a capsule that's a catalyzed mineral complex. They have like a little protocol that has worked in some of the more high stress or more challenging anxiety cases. The Nano Mojo has the adaptogens that I mentioned earlier. This is a little pump bottle, and that one has like the ashwagandha, the rhodiola, the phosphatidylcholine. Ginseng's very good. There's a research study I've heard quoted in the past where they were using mice as the subjects, and they had those tubs of water. And so one of their measurements was how long could the mice tread water until they started drowning. And so that was their stress measurement, was this one could swim for 10 minutes before drowning. This one could swim for 5 minutes. And so the one group, they actually gave ginseng, and the other group, they did not. And hands down, significantly higher like stress resilience, ability to swim under stress, was the group that got the ginseng. So, sometimes you take some things and you don't get like that immediate Xanax-like feeling, like, boom, I feel calmer. But if you stick with some of these adaptogens, it'll be like a couple weeks or something, and you'll have one of those really stressful days, and you just have to stop and think about it. And you're like, wait a second, I didn't feel my hands shaking. I didn't have that pounding heart today. And like, actually, normally I would have had that. So sometimes we're just so busy, go, go, go. We don't realize when things are helping us or hurting us even. So again, there's people eating aspartame or drinking aspartame drinks, or I had somebody today that mentioned that she got in the habit of drinking diet soda again, and her asthma was acting up. And like in hindsight, I was like, oh, we never think about that. We always think about the wildfires aggravated my asthma, but it could have also been because she was drinking the diet soda regularly again. It got her histamines up and our glutamate. So when glutamate goes up, then our histamines can go up. It's just like a domino effect. So another product that Quicksilver Scientific makes is this product called LipoCalm. It uses some GABA itself with L-theanine. L-theanine is the extract in green tea that is calming. It helps our brains get in more of an alpha brainwave activity state. And then passion flower. Passion flower works really well for calming our systems, our nervous systems, and it helps us get more restful sleep. And then I've mentioned this one several times, but phosphatidylcholine is one of those healthy fats that is so essential for our nervous system, but also for our cell membranes. When people talk about mitochondrial health, nowadays people are saying, you know what? Because we used to say, oh, give CoQ10, give carnitine, that helps your mitochondria. And it does. No doubt about it. But sometimes we have so much junk on the membranes of our cells. We don't have enough of this phosphatidylcholine that is strengthening and making our cell membranes pliable enough to take in the nutrients and carry out the toxins. And so sometimes the very first step when you're sick and nothing's helping you is, well, A, clean up your diet, try to get rid of the processed food. But B is to get in the phosphatidylcholine. So you can take a supplement with it, but you can also eat the food with phosphatidylcholine. And one of those foods is flaxseed oil, but it has to be really concentrated. That's what this phosphatidylcholine often is made of. And then the other is the egg yolks. So, I believe in whole food plant-based diets and all the benefits of them, but sometimes we still need some animal products like whole eggs raised in the proper way. Okay, so take home. Here's a challenge for you. Choose one of these practices for the next 7 days and just maybe have a chart or some kind of accountability for yourself that you will do this every day. So you can do the movement, breathing, maybe sitting with that tea ritual or coffee ritual, or doing some humming, singing, shaking. Just check it out, see how it makes you feel. Or just reflecting and maybe doing a gratitude journal or some kind of journaling at the end of the day. Just going to leave you with a Bible verse. I really get a lot of peace and just comfort from just Bible verses and reminding myself about the love of God and the love of Jesus. So do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And that is Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Okay, let me get to the part where I can. Just going to stop sharing my screen and see if anybody has any questions. So there is a question box, and I see there's probably 4 of them so far. How does post-trauma, whether realized or not, affect stress? Oh, wow. Really good question, Joan. I mean, trauma definitely increases our stress response, especially if when we had the trauma, we didn't have somebody helping us process those emotions related to our trauma at the time. It is never too late. There are a lot of really good trauma specialists in our town. At my office, we have Diane Musial, and she does something called zero balancing. Joyce Wagner is a psychologist at my office. She has her own practice, but she does the mental health counseling. She does the EMDR. Doug Jafrida and Jay Natoli in town. Doug is he works at University of Rochester as one of the head psychologists, but he has a private practice, and so does Jay Natoli. They specialize in the mind-body, like when you have a lot of physical symptoms, but they've done a lot of these tests and nobody can figure out what's wrong, then usually they've helped a lot of my patients actually get to a point where we can finish the healing with some of the supplements and the dietary changes. So if you feel stuck, those are some resources. And what the next question was, how do you get past trauma, whether it's realized or not? Because again, sometimes we bring on a little bit more of the trauma by perseverating over it. So anyway, so how do you feel peace? Everybody, it's different for everybody, but I do find that counselors, if there's somebody at a local church, sometimes there's groups. So let's say just for grief, I lost my brother when I was 14 and we had an accident. It was such a freak thing. It was very traumatic for me. Took me a long time to even see a counselor the first time. But there's just been some groups that I've been a part of through hospice. They have grief groups. Maybe one of your spouses had cancer. That's traumatic, being a caregiver and then losing someone you really love to a disease like that. And there are support groups, cancer support groups through the University of Rochester and the Wilmot Cancer Center. So that's another thing. Sometimes something that helps, I would say that my job as a doctor has really helped me with my own trauma, because helping other people through their stressors helps you. So maybe it's about volunteering and helping someone else, which will help you in the end. And it doesn't have to be volunteering with somebody who's lost a spouse because you lost a spouse, or somebody who's dealing with a loved one with cancer. You could actually go help like children learn how to read. Like, it can be other types of volunteer activities that just bring joy to your life. All right, I have another question. During the question portion, will you clarify if, I gotta see if I can open up this because I can only read part of it right now, if estrogen patches can help with anxiety? Thank you so much for asking this question, Deb. Hormones definitely can play a role in what our stress response is. Women always get that, flack for having PMS. Oh, we can't handle our stress because we have PMS. That's usually actually when our estrogen had peaked, or our progesterone had peaked, and then it was dropping. So it's usually more progesterone that helps us deal with stress, but it has to be balanced, because too much progesterone can make you irritable. Too little progesterone can make you irritable. So it's really like a sweet spot. So it's more progesterone that's been known to help with stress and anxiety, and especially sleep. Progesterone is very essential for sleep. But estrogen is more of like our antidepressant. So if like, it's possible that estrogen can help with irritability, and because we just feel tired, more tired when our estrogen's low, more pain, more stiffness, that might make us feel more stressed because we're in more pain. So if your stress is coming more from pain and inflammation, estrogen could help. That would be my answer to that question. Let's see if I can see if other people have questions. I think I saw somebody raising their hand, so I'm going to try to go find who that was. And I could possibly unmute you. Let's see what we got here. Thank you all for joining. If anybody has to jump off, completely understand. We are at 6:51. So Robin, I see that you, which might be Brad, I'm not sure if it's Robin or Brad on right now, but let me see if I can, did I unmute you? Can you speak? Maybe not. Oh, here we go. I think I found it. I don't know. If you can write your question in the chat, then I will answer it. Okay. I got another question on here. What is the best for poor sleep? Good question, Joanne. They always say the first part is your routine. So, well, and another one is just, if you're drinking coffee, especially, like, it might even be that you're drinking coffee early in the day, but some people just are so sensitive to caffeine that you might want a trial of like cutting out the caffeine, because you might be a slower metabolizer and it's affecting you being able to go to sleep or have a better quality of sleep. Alcohol does the same thing. It reduces the quality of your sleep. So basic things like that. Also making sure you get enough exercise during the day, that you wake up and get that sun on your eyes for the circadian rhythm. So sometimes it really is like going out and letting your eyes see the sun rising, and then going out at like whatever time it's like right now would be a good time to go out and get your eyes seeing the sun setting. Sometimes after you do regularly getting your eyes in the sun at sunrise and sunset, you will have better quality sleep. Wearing blue blockers if you're on the computer, especially if you're on the computer later at night. There's different supplements there. I have one supplement that the company that makes the Tro Calm one, they have one called Tro Somna. And that has worked really well for me, that if I wake up from the menopause issues, I can go back to sleep so much better now that I use that. Some people find that melatonin helps. There actually is glycine. I have one patient who takes glycine powder and he swears by that. It's glycine. You would just, the bottle usually tells you a dose is around 500 milligrams. So you could try taking, it comes in a capsule or it comes in powders, but you can take up to like 3 of the 500 milligrams at a time for sleep. That also helps with not losing muscle. So glycine is an amino acid that's part of a protein. Here's a question. I have been seeing posts about yoga poses that help release stress, including the pigeon pose. So this was just an FYI. Thank you, Lori, for sharing. So yes, yoga is another one of those activities that's great to do before bed. So different poses, like some people do the one where you kind of get close to your wall and you put your legs up the wall, but you can also just put like a block. We're always so hunched forward. If you lay on the ground with a block under your sacral bone, which is just above your glute butt muscle, and just kind of lay like that, and you can lay with your legs bent or you can raise them up yourself, and that's a really good position for like lymphatic flow and just relaxation. But pigeon pose is a great one because again, we're always so tense and it helps with stretching the piriformis muscle so you don't get sciatic and things like that. Thank you, Lori, for mentioning that. All right, let's see what else I got here. Okay, I got your question, Brad. Let me see what it says. He's sharing with me that he had bone marrow transplant. He's doing great, but it left him with white coat syndrome and hypertension, which is high blood pressure. And can this be related to, I think it meant to say high cortisol. It does say high cholesterol, but I think it meant high cortisol. It definitely can be related to high cortisol and high adrenaline. So any of those things I talked about that are like natural, as far as the shaking, like you could try that one, you could try the humming, you could try the singing. Some people, just the massaging of the ears. The doctors usually want to give you something like, there's something called a beta blocker that's used for social anxiety, but it's also used for high blood pressure. And that really just blocks your ability to make adrenaline. But, it's better to just try some of these other natural things instead. And, I'm sure we'll be talking again, Brad, so I can give you some other advice if none of those things are working. Oh, he said he does mean cholesterol. So to go back to that question, so can the white coat syndrome and high blood pressure be related to high cholesterol? It can. See, cholesterol is made, like high cholesterol can increase your cortisol because cholesterol is needed to make cortisol. So it's like kind of like a chicken or egg thing. So, I guess you can look at it like, is the high cholesterol causing high blood pressure? Yes, it can be. So then like half of our high cholesterol comes from the food we eat. And it's not always 50-50. Sometimes it's 70-30, but, and the other part comes from genetics but liver health. So just because our mother or, grandfather or somebody had high cholesterol doesn't mean that you have to have it, and you can make a big impact on it depending on what you're eating. The triglyceride part of high cholesterol comes more from the carbohydrates and sugars and alcohol, but the LDL, non-HDL, the bad types, that part comes from the fats in our diet. So I do have people that are like drinking heavy cream because maybe they had a sugar problem and they know that heavy cream is all fat and no sugar or carb. And so that does truly bring your sugar down, but it raises your bad cholesterol. So, there are other healthy fats like avocado or chia seed, flaxseed, fish. Like that would be a better fat to keep your sugar down than the heavy cream or the cheese. I still struggle a little bit about, how much coconut oil should somebody have, because a lot of coconut oil will raise your cholesterol. So it's just like kind of like got to find for you in your genetics, how much can you do without raising your cholesterol? So I hope that some of that helped answer that question. But yes, high cholesterol can lead to high blood pressure and vice versa. All right, let's see. Is there anything else? Thank you so much for those of you who are still sticking it out. Wow. You guys are a great group. So I see that Lana has a question. Is there a connection between stress and gut issues? Absolutely, 1,000%. Stress causes the chronic cortisol actually tends to raise the unhealthy yeast in your guts and raise the unhealthy bacteria in your gut. It suppresses the production of the good bacteria. It can also, it's almost like taking prednisone. And we know that taking prednisone causes leaky gut, meaning that it breaks the junctions that hold the cells together that prevent excess bacteria to get into your bloodstream, or viruses or parasites or any of that stuff. So the more stressed you are, the more you're going to have problems with any of those things I just mentioned. So sometimes you can be eating all the right food, taking all the right supplements, and you still can't heal your gut because you're still too stressed. Actually, I treat a lot of patients with parasite cleansing. I get a lot of success of people who have never gotten better. Some of it is the anxiety, some of it is autoimmune disease, gut issues, but a lot of us have parasites and we don't know it. You don't have to have diarrhea to have parasites. You don't have to be drinking water from the sewage to have parasites. And now we're all worried because like the salads and the berries might have some of these infections that cause massive diarrhea. If you cook your food, it makes it safer. So anyway, there was a story that relates to the stress and these infections. I was telling a friend how I was doing parasite cleansing, and I saw a lot of parasites in my stool, and it was going on for months actually. And she has a hobby farm, and she was like, how could you, like, you're so healthy, how could you have parasites? And I said, well, I think it's from eating pork. Like my husband, he's the master chef in my household, and he likes to make it so it's moist. And when you do that, sometimes it's a little bit pink in the middle. I've probably eaten that kind of pork too many times. And she said, well, we raise pigs on our organic farm, and like we don't have parasites. I can eat pork without having parasites. She's like, there was only one time that our pig got a parasite. Now I wanted to know right away, like, okay, when did your pig get a parasite? And she told me that it was when they put two pigs together and one pig was like bullying the other pig. And so it was when the pig was stressed. That's the only time one of her pigs got a parasite. So when we're too stressed, our immune system's weak and we can get things more easily. Okay, so the bottom line is we got to do whatever we can to lower our perception of stress. We're all going to have stress. It's just trying to stay calm, trying not to feel like the worst case scenario is always going to happen, and just believing that and trusting that something good will always come later, even if something bad seems to be happening. And so I think I'm going to end on that. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for supporting me. I try to continue to support you with just sharing my knowledge. And I haven't picked an exact date for August yet, but you all get the email. You don't have to be a patient of mine to come listen to these talks. So share it with your friends. The more the merrier. Because my job is to put myself out of business. I want to teach you all how to be so healthy on your own that you probably don't need me someday. So thank you all for being here. Have a good night.